Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial for class 12th of Informatics Practices. Today we'll be discussing the fourth part of the chapter Python Pandas. So let's begin. First topic today is function application. Okay, so what is the meaning of function application? Let's see first. Function application means that a function may be applied on a data frame in multiple ways. Multiple ways, that means suppose if we have a data frame, the data frame consists of different elements, the data frame consists of different rows, it consists of different columns, and the data frame itself can be considered as a whole part. Okay, so the function application means in which way we are going to apply these functions. Okay, it may be on a particular individual elements, or it may be on a particular rows, it may be on the multiple rows, on the multiple columns, or a whole data frame itself. Okay, so the function application can be applied in these multiple ways, that is either on the whole data frame or on columns slash rows or element wise. Okay, so for fulfilling this purpose, the pandas offer three main functions. Okay, these main functions are pipe, apply, and apply map. So let's discuss these three functions. First of all, we will begin with the pipe function. The pipe function is also known as the data frame wise function application. So as per I have told earlier that the function application can be performed on the whole data frame also. So this one is the data frame wise function application. That means whatever the operations you are going to perform in this pipe function, it will be applied on the whole data frame. Okay, so you can say pipe is a technique of passing information from one process to another, where the output of the first process becomes the input of the second one. Now what is the meaning of this? Say, suppose you are having an example that 2 plus 3 into 5. Okay, so 2 plus 3 is in one bracket and then you are multiplying it with 5. Then what you have to do here, you have to take the addition result first. That means first of all you have to add 2 and 3. Okay, the 2 and 3 will provide you the result as 5. Now this 5 is the output of the first operation. Now it will be taken as an input for the second operation, and the output of 5 will be multiplied with 5 again to produce a result of 25. Okay, so you can say that here what you are doing is you are taking input from a output. Getting it? That means multiple operations can be performed in this way. One will provide you the output, and now it will become the input for the second one, and similarly the process can be continued. Okay, it is not necessarily important that it will be only two functions. Maybe you are applying four or five functions also. The series will go on in the similar way. The first one will produce the output that will be taken as the input for the second one. Second one will produce an output that will be taken as the input for the third one, and sequentially the operation will move further. Okay, now let's see an example here. We are having a data frame df here. Okay, this one is the data frame. In this you can see 2016, 2017, 2018 are the names of the columns. Okay, and qtr1, qtr2 and qtr3 are the indexes or the rows. Now suppose this whole data frame is to be applied with the pipe function. Okay, that is multiple operations are to be performed on this. So let's see how this pipe function works. Suppose we write the code for this. Print df.pipe np.multiply, 50 dot pipe np.sqrt, dot pipe np.floor. So clearly one thing you can see here, that we have to apply three operations here. Okay, first one is the multiplication operation, that is we have to multiply the data frame values with 50. Then what will be the output of this operation will be taken as an input for the square root. Okay, now that elements will be square rooted, and whatever the output will be there, it will be taken as an input for the floor function, and floor will provide you the final result. Okay, so in this way you can see that piping of the functions has been done. Okay, sequential piping is there. First one will be there, it will perform some operation, it will give output to the second one, and the second one will take as an input and it will perform the operation and it will give the output to the third one, and similarly. Okay, now let's see the result here. It will provide you the data frames with these values. Now you can see the columns are the same, the rows are the same, the elements have been changed. And you can say that first of all, let's take an example for the 34, which is in QTR1 and 2016 column. Then 34 is to be multiplied with 50. Then 34 multiplied by 50 will result 1700. Okay, and then this 1700 is to be square rooted. Okay, so it will give you some result around 41 point something. Okay, now we have applied the floor function over it. What floor function will do? It will give you the just below integer value. Okay, suppose if you are given a 41 point something as an input in floor function, it will yield a 41 output. Okay, suppose the output was, sorry, the input was 42 point something, the floor function will limit it to 42. Okay, we have already discussed in class 11th also about this floor function and the ceiling function. So ceiling function will give you the next highest integer and floor function will provide you the previous lowest integer. Okay, in the similar way, these all the elements have been performed. 30 has been multiplied with 50, it has given 1500 as an input. Now this 1500 has been taken square rooted, it has provided you to the output around 38 point something, and this floor function has derived it to 38.0. Okay, similarly all the elements have been performed accordingly. Okay, now let's see, this our sample data frame is there, sample data frame df. Now we should talk about the apply function. Okay, now this apply function is a series function. Okay, as we have discussed earlier, the data frame operations can be performed on the whole data frame or on a particular set of columns, on a particular set of rows, or in the elements. Okay, and we have also discussed that the pipe function was operating on the whole data frame. Now this apply function is a series function, so it applies function to one row or one column of a data frame. Now as you know that the data frame consists of single columns also. Okay, now these particular single columns or the single rows can be treated as a series. Okay, so when you are going to apply an operation over a single column or a single row, okay, then that is treated as a operation over a series. Okay, now see, for example, here we are having print df.apply np.mean. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we will apply the function mean over the data frame. Okay, now these operations will be performed on the particular rows. Okay, you can say on all the rows but individually on the particular rows. Okay, it has to produce the result row wise. Okay, let's see the output here. We have got 2016, the value is 33.000, 2017 32.000, and for 2018 it is 33.33333. Why is it so? You can see that sample data frame is also given. For 2016 column, we were having the elements 34, 30 and 35 in QTR1, QTR2 and QTR3 respectively. Now mean means to take out the average. So when we are going to add this 34, 30 and 35, you will get the result as 99. Okay, and this 99 is to be divided by 3 to get an average or the mean. So 99 divided by 3 will give you 33.00000. Okay, now in the similar way other elements have also been treated. Now you can see one thing clearly that for 2016 column, okay, for 2016 column all the elements have been treated separately. This, that means 34, 30 and 35 has been taken for the mean. For 2017 the second column, that means QTR1, QTR2, QTR3 values of 2017 column has been treated, and now 30 plus 31 plus 35 has been added and that has been divided by 3 to yield the result as 32.0000. Okay, Similarly, for 2018, the elements will be taken as 31, 36, and 33, and addition will be performed on these three elements. Then it is divided by 3 to get an average as 33.33333. Okay. So if you want to change the axis also, you can change the axis. If you have to take the elements according to the QTR1, QTR2 and QTR3, only you have to do here one thing, that you have to mention the axis also. Right now by default the axis is 0. So if you want to take the operation according to the columns, then you will go for axis is equals to 1. Okay, so you will get the result for QTR1, QTR2 and QTR3. But here we have not mentioned any axis, so the default axis number is axis 0, and it has taken the rows accordingly, and elements have been added according to the rows. Okay, and the result has been produced for the columns. I think that is clear for you. Let's move further. The apply map function. Now we have talked about pipe function, which was dealing with the whole data frame. We have talked about apply function, which was dealing with the set of rows or the set of columns. And now here we are with apply map function. Now this apply map function, it applies to each individual element separately. Okay. Now whatever the operation will be performed under this apply map function will be performed on the individual elements. Okay. Now let's see. Suppose we are having an example, print df.apply_map np.sqrt. Okay, and sample data frame we are already having. So let's see what will be the output of this. Now you can see the results have been produced, and results have been produced for the each elements separately. That means the whole data frame has been given as an input, and for the input this whole data frame has produced the result individually for the output. Okay, so for the 34, square root has been taken and the answer is 5.830952. For 30, square root has yielded 5.477226, and similarly for the rest of the element the square root has been done and the output has been produced accordingly. Okay, so here you can say that all the elements have been performed with the square root function separately or individually. No set of rows has been taken together, no set of columns have been taken together. Okay, all the elements of the data frame has been operated with the same operation. Okay, this is apply map. Okay, now let's talk about this one. But if we write the code of mean with apply map, we will get the following output: print df.apply_map np.mean. Okay, now you have to understand one difference here, that if we write the code of mean with apply map, okay, we will get the following output: apply map np.mean. Let's see the output here. It has yielded this result: 2016 34.0, 2017 30.0, 2018 31.0. Now what is the problem here, that when we are going to apply map function on the data frame, we have already discussed that apply map function applies to each individual rows, sorry, each individual elements. Okay, now since we have to take out the mean, the mean has been taken out for the each elements. Okay, so 34 is to be divided with 1 itself. Okay, 34 by 1 will result 34.0, 30 divided by 1 will give you 30.0, 31 by 1 will give you 31.0. Okay, earlier this mean function was operated by using apply function, and now this mean function has been operated by using apply map function. So you have to see the difference between both of them. Apply was providing you the result by taking a particular set of rows. Okay, so it was adding the elements accordingly. Now we have got each individual element to be operated with this mean function. Now each individual element has to be taken the average. So since there's only one element here, so for getting the output we will divide all the elements by 1, and it will result the values accordingly. Okay, you can see QTR1 has got 34.0, 30.0, 31.0, QTR2 is 30.0, 31.0, 36.0. So you can see the difference. that apply map has provided this result, and apply with the same mean function has provided some other result. Okay, now let's move further. Let's discuss about this function group by. Okay, now by the name itself you can understand group by function is being used for grouping. Okay, now that group can has to be made according to a particular entity. Okay, so whenever you are grouping something, you have to see the individual identities between them. Okay, without that it is not possible. So you have to be very careful when we are grouping something, because if the properties between them is not matching, okay, then it is going to be a means a problem for us. Okay, so you have to be very careful with these, that whenever you are grouping something, it has to get some individual, sorry, it is some similar properties between them. Okay, now let's see here. This function is used for grouping the data of a data frame based on a field's value. Okay, for example, in the given data frame, grouping can be done as teacher wise, class wise, section wise. Okay, so you have to identify these things, that for this sample data frame, we have got these teachers name as Rajesh, Jay, Ashish and Vineet. Rajesh, Jay, Ashish and Vineet. Rajesh, Jay, these values are repeating. Okay, in the previous video tutorial also, we have taken this data frame to take out this pivoting and all those things. So that same data frame we are considering here. Now the G1 is mentioned with df1 dot group by teacher, and G2 has been mentioned with df1 dot group by teacher comma section. Okay. Now there is difference between these two statements. G1 is grouping the data frame according to the teachers. Okay, and G2 is grouping the data frame with the help of these two column name, that is teacher and section. So first of all, the grouping will be done according to this teachers, and for that particular teachers section will be grouped. Okay, now let's see the output of the first statement, which is given print g1 dot size. You have to be very careful with g1 and g2. G1 is having grouping according to the teachers. So let's see the size of this group. For teachers, Ashish is having size of 4. As you can see, Ashish has been repeated 4 times, so Ashish is having the group size as 4. Similarly, Jay has been given the size 4. For Rajesh also 4, and for Vineet also 4. Why it is happening? Because all the elements have been repeated 4 times. Okay, Rajesh has been repeated 4 times, Ashish has been repeated 4 times, Jay has been repeated 4 times. Okay, Vineet has been also repeated for 4 times. So each group is having the size as 4. Okay, now suppose if we are going to print g1 dot get underscore group we need. Now see, get underscore group is a function which is used for getting the particular group elements. Okay, suppose here we have written g1 dot get underscore group we need. So whatever the grouping has been done according to a teacher, for that grouping, Vineet's group has to be taken out or to be isolated out, and it has to be printed with the results. So let's see what will the output of this. You can see you will get this output. Okay. So for teacher, all the elements is for Vineet only. Periods have been mentioned, classes have been mentioned, and the sections have been mentioned accordingly. Okay, if you would have written g1 dot get underscore group j, then all the elements belonging to j's group will be yielded out. Okay, I think it's clear now. Now let's move further. If you are going to write print g2 dot get underscore group ashish comma a. Now see, here we have written g2. Okay, and g2 was grouped according to two columns, that is for teacher also and for section also. So let's see the output here. It has yielded somewhat like this: teacher with ashish and ashish. Why? Because Ashish is having 4, repetition is for 4 times for Ashish, but only 2 times it has resulted, because we have to group according to the section also. And for Ashish, section A has been repeated only 2 times, so the total combination for this is these two elements only. Okay, means you can see that for teacher here we are having Ashish, for periods we are having 25, 21, and for classes we are having 9th and 12th, and for section we are having A and A. Why so? Because the grouping has been done according to the teacher also, as well as for the section also. Okay, if we would have written Ashish comma B, it would have given a different result. Okay, why? Because we have to see whether Ashish is there with the section B or not. If it is there, then it will result something, and if it is not there, it will give you NaN. Okay, that is not a number. And NaN we have already discussed. When NaN is used, that whenever the elements is associated elements are not there in the data frame, it will replace that elements with NaN. That is not a number. Okay, now let's move further. Here we are having aggregation via group by. Aggregation, we have already discussed in the video tutorial that aggregation means to apply some aggregate operation over the data frame. Now once we have aggregated the values by using grouping, this aggregation can be performed, okay, on the group by also. So what are the aggregation functions? Sum, mean, median, etc. Okay, now again we are having this sample data frame, and G1 is equals to df1 dot group by teacher comma section dot agg np dot mean np dot median np dot sum and print G1. Now what we have to do here, we have to group them, okay, according to teacher as well as section, and this grouping has to be aggregated with these functions np.mean, np.median, and np.sum. So here we are able to perform three operations at once. That means mean will be taken out, median will be taken out, and sum will be taken out, and that will be taken out according to this grouping, that is the grouping of teacher and section. Now let's see, if we are going to print G1, we are going to get this result. Here you can see the grouping has been done already for the teachers like Ashish, Jay, Rajesh and Vineet. And for Ashish, the groups means the sections were section A and section C. For Jay, the sections were A, B and D. For Rajesh, the sections are A and C. And for Vineet, the sections are A, B and D. And for all these sections and the teachers, mean, median and sum has been taken out at once. Okay, now this is a very crucial part of this data frame operations, that here we are able to perform multiple operations at once, and we are able to view those operations at once as well. Okay, now let's move further using transform function. Now this transform function is used for adding the aggregate data of the group to the data frame itself. Now, we have already discussed that we can produce many results at once. That means mean has to be taken out, mode, sum, max, okay. Whatever the functions are there, by grouping them and aggregating them, we can perform multiple operations. Now, this will result in a particular different object. Now, if we want to get this result to be displayed in the data frame itself, in a separate column or in a separate row, we can do this by using this transform function. Now, since earlier in the data frame there were random values, okay, for the period there was some other value for section A, and for similarly in section A another period was there, means different values were there for the single entity. Now for that only we have performed many operations like mean, median, mode and etc. Now if we have operated this with the function, and now after getting the similar result for all these columns or for all these values, once we have got these values, we can also add them to the data frame. Now let's see an example here. We have written df1 period underscore mean. Now df1 was already there, and now we are adding one more column in that df1 by the name period underscore mean. Now how this values are going to be taken, we have to just group it with the column teacher, and the grouping of this teacher will result some values for the period, and that period column has to be taken out, and that period is to be performed with this mean function. Okay, so after grouping them according to the teachers, we will get some period name, sorry, period values, and these period values have to be performed with this mean operation. Now once we are going to perform the mean operation over them, all the elements will be similar for those elements. Okay, and now after getting these mean elements, we will these values, and these values will be added in this df1 period underscore mean column. Okay, so let's see the result here. If we are going to print df1, now this print df1 is going to yield this data frame. Now also, this was our earlier data frame. You can see in this the columns were teacher, period, class and section. Now we are having one more column, that is period underscore mean, and this period underscore mean has given you some values. Now let's check these things. These arrows you can see in the earlier data frame, section A was having period 20. Again, some in the section A we were having period as 25. Next in period A we were having the element as 21. See, the arrows have been marked. You have to see whether it is repeating or not. Okay, see in this uh, ninth A we are having this means you can see this for Rajesh. Okay, check it for Rajesh. For Rajesh, earlier in data frame ninth A was having 20 periods. Okay, for Rajesh again you can see that 10th C was having 23 period. For Rajesh, class 11th he was having 25 period, and for Rajesh, class 12th he was having 24 periods in the earlier data frame. Now check out the values which has been replaced now in the newer data frame. You can see Rajesh in ninth A has got 23.00 period in period underscore mean column. Again, Rajesh in 10th C has got 23.00, and Rajesh in class 11th A has got 23.00, and Rajesh in class 12th C has again got 23.00. So what it has done, it has created the mean for these particular teachers, and this mean has been replaced with all other elements where it was occurring. Okay, so this is the use of this transform function, that you can just perform some operations there, and this particular element with the help of this mean or median or mode has to be taken out first, and that can be added into the data frame itself. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. We'll meet in the next video lecture. Thank you, students.